Hi everybody, this is the first video for how I made my highway barriers for the game Gaslands. To all my old and new subscribers, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And to everybody, welcome to the workshop. The first thing we are going to do is make some MDF bases for our project. I drew on some patterns and I cut these out with an electrical jigsaw. Just the basic shapes for now, as we are going to refine these later. So again, with the electric saw, get rid of any hard edges so we can bevel on some nice slopes, for which we are going to use a wood rasp, which you can see me do here. This is going to leave the surface quite rough, so we are going to sand it down with 100 grit sandpaper. And there we have a bunch of bases. Now the fun can really start. Time for step 2, which are the guardrails. I'm gonna start by cutting off some strips of corrugated cardboard. About this wide, as you can see here. I think it's a little under a centimeter. Then it's important to get rid of the back side of the cardboard, because we are going to glue some of these together. Get rid of all the little strips of cardboard. Put on some PVA glue. Spread it with your finger and glue two halves together. This is going to give it a bit of mass and give it a bit of rigidity. Now put these aside, as it's time to make the supports for the guardrails. For this I cut the styrene bar into strips of 1 centimeter in length. To attach the styrene to the MDF base, I mix up some green stuff. I put some little blobs of the green stuff on the MDF base, somewhat following the drawing that I made. Just press in the pieces of styrene. And then I set these aside for about 15 to 30 minutes till the green stuff starts to harden a little bit. And then I press the sides with a sculpting tool, and it's the right time to adjust the little bars a little bit so they align up for when we are going to reattach the guardrails. For the cracked asphalt, I found some foam board that didn't have the cardboard on either side, which makes it really easy to model with. I started by cutting out a shape to fit the MDF base. Then I went online and looked at some pictures of cracked asphalt. I did my best to draw on a pattern. And then get your hobby knife and go through all the lines that you've drawn, gently scoring the foam board. Then I use the lava rock to add some texture. Then to get rid of the round shape and to simulate the cracked asphalt, I'm going to cut out some rectangles and some squares from the sides to simulate the wear and tear. And then I used regular PVA glue to attach the foam board to the MDF base. Now it's time for the next step. We're going to further simulate the cracked asphalt. I used broken up pieces of cork for this. I'm going to glue these on with PVA glue at the little holes that I made in the foam board and at the sides where there would be the most damage occurring. Then some more little rocks around the broken up pieces of cork. Then as a last step I just sprinkle on some fine sand. Then to attach the ballast to the base I used a spray with wet water. Then I doused it with my scenic glue. You can find recipes for these two in the description below. It's by Paper Cuts, which is a Dutch guy who makes beautiful dioramas. Go check him out. And then after drying, it's time to reattach the guardrails. I'm gonna cut these to size, and I'm going to use my hobby knife and weather the guardrails. And then I used super glue to attach the guardrails to the support structure. I added some more detailing to the guardrails by sculpting on some rivets with plastic putty by Vallejo. Put a drop on the model, set these aside for 5 minutes so it hardens a little bit, and then with a needle you can push in the center. And this is the result. Now it's time to add some height to our scenery pieces. We're going to make some utility poles. I'm going to start by cutting off a piece of about 12 centimeters of the dowel and bevel the top of the pole with a hobby knife. Then to make the support for the electrical systems, I used a piece of styrene bar, which I made a little bit concave so it aligns with a wooden dowel. Now we're going to pin these components together. First, start by making a hole with a pin vise into the pieces of styrene. And then it's time to glue everything together with a bit of super glue. For the support, I cut a couple of strips of cardboard. Attach these with super glue. And then for the electric wire conductors, I use these little small balls. Again, a bit of super glue. I wanted to add even more detail to the utility poles, so I went into my electricity bin where I keep all my electrical components. I found some things that I liked scale wise. Final step for the utility poles are little plastic pins that I push in the top of the hollow balls, to which I'm going to attach my electricity wire after painting. And here is the finished result, ready for a coat of paint. Now it's time for the next and final step, which is to attach the poles to the base. Now I want the system to be modular, so I checked into my bins box, found some styrene tube. I cut a couple of pieces of about 7 millimeters, then I beveled the edges with a hobby knife and with a file. Now with super glue I attach these to the wooden base. You cannot use too little super glue in this case. You want a strong bond. And I added some super glue at the sides, and while the glue was still wet, pour on some sand that you've used before to blend everything nicely together. And this is the finished result. These pieces are ready to be painted, which you will see in the second part of this video series. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and like this video so you don't miss out. I'll see you soon. Bye.